Hello, and welcome to your NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday, the 13th of April, 2026. It's Gary here again. You know what? It's getting right down to the wire now, isn't it? You know, it wasn't so long ago that I actually remember sitting literally in this seat saying, can we win 11 games on the trot? And at the time I had said it was a hard ask, and then we had a couple of draws in there, and then it got to 9. And then after the 9, like 9 felt single digits, felt a wee bit, not completely insurmountable, but of course knowing and understanding that we're going to have the top 6 at some point, towards the end of the season. And then you're in a situation where you're like, 9 seems like a lot. Now it's down to 5. And yes, it's going to be 5 of the hardest games that we're going to have for the remainder of the season, but there's not a lot to fear in there. I don't think. The only thing, I was actually talking to, I think, who was I talking to yesterday? Was it my nephew or someone? I can't remember. And I'd said, as Danny Rule has continued his evolving of the squad and the team and the philosophy and the club, basically, we've kind of burst all these hoodoos along the way, winning at Sharkhead and finally getting a victory over Motherwell, getting a victory over Falkirk, things like that, things that we hadn't done previously this season. And the only thing we have yet to do is to beat Hearts at Tynecastle. I mean, maybe there's something else that I've forgotten, but for the most part, that's really kind of where things are at. So it's one of these things where it's becoming more and more possible. Of course it is, because we've had 4 wins on the trot and not easy games in and of those either. So it's going to be very, very, very interesting. And here's what I'm going to try and do. I'm going to try and channel my inner Rory McIlroy, because he had quite the journey. If you think about the season for him, in terms of the 4 rounds that he had at the Masters there, if you're not a golfer, you can just switch forward from this particular part. But he had a brilliant start, first 2 rounds, absolutely tremendous. He's in a record-breaking position, being 6 up at the halfway stage of the tournament, and then he doesn't have a great round in the 3rd round. He's, 1 or 2 over par, something like that. And then at one point yesterday, he was 3 shots down on the final round. And you are paying attention to the scoreboard as you're going there, which is what we're doing when we're checking up the apps to find out what the other scores are and looking at what the connotations are at the top of the league table for us and Hearts and that other mob and things like that. So it's one of those ones where he talked about it afterwards, where he said, I was conscious of what was happening. I knew what I had to do. If I got to where I got to, then I was going to be in a good position to win this tournament. And I just kept focused on that. That's what we need to do. And that's what I'm going to try and genuinely do. So even yesterday, in terms of the game, and it obviously didn't start the way that we were hoping the game was going to start, we're in a situation where we've got an opportunity to say, this is 1 game of 5. There's other things that are going to be happening elsewhere. Let's see how we're going to do. We want, and maybe Danny Rule and team have got a points tally. I know he's been asked that once or twice in interviews, and he hasn't really said much about it, saying we don't know how many it's going to take. And yeah, absolutely, we don't know how many it's going to take. However, they probably now are saying, well, obviously they would be saying another 15 points and it's ours. Is it realistic to get another 15 points? Who knows what that looks like? It really just depends on what the results look like over the next wee while here. So yeah, I'm going to try and do that and see how it goes. I had a bit of a tough time doing that, I have to say, in the first 30 minutes or so of yesterday's game. So let's use that as an opportunity to get to yesterday's game. Of course, that was the 6-3 victory over Falkirk at Falkirk. And as I mentioned earlier there, we hadn't beaten them this season. It was 2 draws that we had against them this season. So this was by no means an easy task. And for some reason, honestly, folks, I didn't know that they had a plastic pitch. For some bizarre reason, it wasn't one of the ones that came to mind. I've always got Kilmarnock and Livingston in my head, but I never realised that Falkirk were the plastic pitch folks as well. And if someone had said, right, at the end of this weekend, you're going to get another 3 points and you're going to get a +3 on the goal difference, I would have thought, brilliant, 3-0, a 3-0 victory, or maybe 4-1, something like that. Never would I have thought that it would be 6-3 in that. And it was one of those, what would you say, the best of times and the worst of times. I think it was a real epitome of what Rangers can do from a negative perspective, as it turns out in the beginning, and then from a positive perspective in terms of the way that we finalised and finished off the game there. For us to get 5 goals in the second half is absolutely incredible, but that goal just before half time was an absolute an absolute piece of gold dust for us. You know, it was absolutely great. And yeah, was it out? Was a ball out? No one could tell. So if they can't tell, then you can't give it. And we get that goal back to give us just that wee bit of belief. But we'd been coming into the game a wee bit more at that point anyway. But it was what's the most professional word that I can find? It was an absolutely honking first half, wasn't it? Like they just the goals that we lost. It was just. Do you know what? Actually, I'll tell you what. This is something that I learned a wee bit yesterday that I hadn't really learned so much before. When I first saw the goals yesterday morning, I didn't watch the game live. I watched the game at 8:00 here because I had a bit of a late night on Saturday night. That's a different story for a different day, but I had my football team season ender on Saturday. It was supposed to be a wee bit quiet and tame, and I was supposed to leave early. Didn't do that. I kicked the arse out of it as per usual. So one of these things, whoops. But anyway, I watched the game on replay, and I was quite upset about both of the goals. I thought they were really weak. I thought both of the goals were really, really poor. The penalty, that's just a stupid decision by Tab towards the end of the game. Absolutely needless as well. And it did that. But the first two goals I thought were super weak. And then when I watched the goals back again on highlights last night as I was preparing for today's pod, I looked at it and we were kind of unlucky, honestly, with both of them. You know, they got every single break of the ball down the left-hand side when we had enough players there to stifle the attack. And were they showing more hunger than us? It depends what way you look at it. I don't know. But they certainly wanted, they wanted to really take the game to us, and they did a really good job of that. They adjusted to the conditions much better than we did. And obviously they've got the advantage of playing on that pitch, more than we do. But it's one of these, there's a bunch of different factors there. But, they got the breaks of the ball in the midfield. They get down at the left-hand side. The boy gets to cross it in. And we just, we're fractions of millimetres away from getting the opportunity to clear the ball or at least change the direction that would give us an opportunity to defend it. And the guy's there on his own. Our defenders are on their bums. And the guy's there on his own to do a good finish. Then the second one, big deflection. The deflection takes it right into the guy's path and he just strokes it home. It's a really good finish by him, but just a big deflection in terms of the cross coming in, so he reacted, we didn't, but as I say, it was on his path. So I'm going to give him a bit of a pass when I say that, because I was pretty upset at the beginning. And even when I watched the goals on the highlights at half time, I was still kind of looking at it through a negative lens. And then when I watched that again last night, I'm like, actually, that's kind of not really the case. And then, it's just one of these things. I guess we just need to learn from it, and look at how we can act and react better in these games, and that's exactly what we did. We got the goal from Chukwani, we got two from Chermiti, two from Majovski, and one from Raskin. And Raskin is one of those games, didn't he? One of those games where you're like, man, oh man, this, when he's on form, when he's really in the mood and he's doing well, he's absolutely dynamite for us. And that's why he's playing for the Belgian national team. He is a very, very, very good player. And if you look at the highlight of his goal, especially the highlight from the back of the goal, if you replay it, he had only one thing on his mind. He just kept his eye on that ball and he said, I'm going to hit this as hard as I can, try and put it across the goalie. And that's exactly what he did. And just see, when you're in the zone, when you're in the zone, that's really when you can start to really have that wherewithal, that mindset, that presence in and of the moment to be able to do that. And, that really got us going. And it's great. It's great when we've got the striker scoring again, the atmosphere. You've seen the dynamic with our fans and the players during the game, when we were getting the goals in. And even after the game, I saw some footage on the Rangers website this morning, actually the Rangers YouTube channel this morning, just detailing some of the, the celebrations with the players at the end, and Chermiti going in and giving a jersey into the fans and things like that. It was just a brilliant feeling, but talk about 4 seasons in one day, literally, in terms of the weather. It was a bit up and down, but in terms of our performance as well. And I heard David Edgar saying this morning on the Heart and Hand daily update that we probably learned more about this squad and this team in this type and style of game, with this type and style of victory, than we would have if it had been 3-0 or 4-1 maybe. The ability to come back from adversity, because he's been getting poked and prodded about mentality, especially when some of the results haven't been so great and maybe the performances and results haven't really aligned themselves. And he kind of bristles at that because, he's obviously protecting his team and he doesn't think that the mentality issue is a thing. And yesterday, we got an opportunity to test the mentality and we did it very, very well, and we came out with the victory. So in terms of the positives, absolutely the result, the second half in particular. You know what, actually the last 55 55 minutes or so for me, I think. And we're good, but certainly the second half was just excellent and very, very entertaining as well, to be honest. Our strikers getting goals, they made a big point of talking about that's 3 goals, 14 goals in 3 games with 9 different goal scorers. 14 goals in 3 games with 9 different goal scorers. That bodes absolutely tremendously well for us as we're moving forward into the real genuine business part of the season. The mentality was great. The hoodoo, as I say, was taken away, and that gives us an opportunity, real genuine food for thought for what's possible come the last game of the season, which is of course away to Falkirk. It's not something, if we had a disappointing or a difficult result yesterday, then obviously it would put us on a bit of a downer, with 5 games to go, but it would also have us, that seed of doubt would have been planted for us to say, and it's not even a gimme on the last game of the season. And I'm not saying it's a gimme in the last game of the season, but what I'm saying is anything is possible in the last game of the season. So even if we were to go down again on the last game of the season, we know that within that wherewithal of that 90 minutes, we have the opportunity to come back because we have guys who can finish all over the pitch. And one other positive, I mentioned it briefly last week, Tello Asgard is starting to become really influential for us, and everyone, this is, I'm talking about the good parts of the game. When we were 2-0 down, the whole team were dire. Like, the only guy that never did anything wrong was Jack Butland, and he had to pick the ball out of the net twice. But, other than that, the rest of the team had a 40 minutes or so to forget. But when the team is clicking, he's getting on the ball a lot more. It seems to be he knows and understands what his role is a wee bit better, and he's positively contributing to the team as well, which is great. In terms of negatives, the first half. I mean, so here's the thing. So a lot of times they'll say the pitch is a challenge. Now we've got these synthetic pitches at Ibrox or Auchterlonie. So we've got them at the training centre, so we should know and understand. Now I understand depending on the type and style of technology there, the bounce is going to be a wee bit different. Why not go a wee bit earlier? Why not? I don't know if there's a limit to how early the team can get there, but why not go and have a light training session there where the balls are being thrown up into the air. We're looking at, guys clearing it from one side to the other and seeing what the bounce looks like and what the overall passing mechanics and stuff like that would be. Or pay more attention to that. If you're just going to go there about an hour and a half earlier, pay more attention to that during the warm-up. Because to have this is completely alien to me. This is something that I'm just completely not used to whatsoever. That's nonsense. That's garbage. Isn't it? When you get, it just doesn't make any sense. These are professional football players, and you've got enough time to go there and really, really look at the bounce and really, really look at what things are going to look like. Get a feel for what the ball is going to travel like and how you're going to act and react in the situations. But we looked kind of shell-shocked, and they adjust a wee bit better than we do, and then we end up in a mess for the first 30 minutes or so. So it just seems so simple to me. Just go and practice on that field as early as you possibly can on the game day. Even if you can get in there half an hour early, that's half an hour more than you would get. And I'm not talking about a full-blown training session where you're going to get exhausted and you're not going to be at peak performance levels for the game. What I'm talking about is get the mechanics right, understand what the flow, what the ball travelling is going to look like and what the bouncing and stuff like that is going to look like as well. So if anyone from Rangers is listening to this, do that, please. Just get that done, and that will save us a wee bit of the pitch took a wee bit of getting used to garbage that we have. And the same applies, of course, for grass as well. But there seems to be this propensity to talk about the pitch when it's the synthetic pitches and such. So I don't know. Anyway, in terms of the possession, 49% possession. I was kind of surprised by that. I thought we had a wee bit more, but 49 probably feels a wee bit better. But the best stats are we had 15 shots on target. That was 16 last game, 15 this game, 9 on target as well, and we scored 2/3 of those. That's brilliant. 2/3, 66% of a chance conversion there. That's what we're looking for as we bode into the rest of the season. Versus Falkirk had 6 shots on goal with 3 on target as well, and scored 3 of them. So there you go, And in terms of the referee watch, I want you to sit down for this part. This is something you're not going to hear very, very often. I thought Don Robertson had a really good game. I thought he had a really good game for whatever happened to him, whatever reason. He's got his hair shaved a wee bit. Maybe he's kind of excess, really understanding the fact that his hair doesn't look great. He should just shave it off. I say that as a biased guy. He had a good game. He let the play go when he had opportunities to pull it back. Sometimes it gets infuriating when the referee blows and then you've already got advantage and stuff. He gave us the advantage when we got it. We got one of the goals from, was it Chiquani, had kind of won the ball back. Another referee might have given that as a foul. It wasn't a foul, but he was right there. And he's looking and he's like, nope, that's no foul. The ball comes in. And was that Chimiti's first goal, possibly? I can't remember exactly what goal it was now. he did his job. He did his job. He kept the play going. He booked people when he had to book them, and he gave us an opportunity to actually see what good, solid, effective refereeing was, and fair play to him for that. So he's going to get a 7.5 out of 10 for that. I almost was going to give him an 8, but an 8 is, for me, an 8 is like not acquiescing to the crowd. An 8 is making the big brave calls in the heat of the cauldron of the moment and such like that. The heat of the cauldron of the moment, that doesn't make any sense, but I think you get what I mean. He didn't have to do any of that, but he called a very, very good game. So 7.5 is the highest I've ever given out. So he gets that, and fair play. I'll call it like I see it, and that's what we've got. So in terms of games for next week, none. Unfortunately, we should have been maybe not should have. We were hoping to be in the semi-final of the Scottish Cup this weekend, but we get an opportunity to go to Spain and do some training and give it an opportunity for more bonding with the team and things like that. Hopefully a lot more coaching and an ability to really parse out these games and look at what was required to navigate the next 5 games with 5 victories to give us that opportunity to lift that 56 title. So yeah, just after the international break, and we get another break for this weekend, which is a wee bit annoying, but it's one of these things. But one thing we do know is that we have the fixtures announced. I mentioned that last week, that I expected them to come out quite early, and they did. And we have a Sunday game at home to Motherwell to start off the top 5, or the top 6, I should say. And then we're away to Hearts on a Monday. And I know it's a bank holiday back home, but that's nonsense. And I'll tell you why it's nonsense, because people are working here in North America. People are working all over the world. It's a work day for the majority of people, and you're going to be in a situation where you're going to have to either take time off work or skip work or miss it or pull a sickie or whatever it is you're going to do. But the main reason it's a downer is that I'm actually travelling to Toronto that day, and my flight is about 2:00. And I think, in theory, my plan is to go to the airport 4 hours early, get myself set up in the pub or the restaurant or whatever it is, and then watch the game there and then get the flight over to Toronto from there, because I'll either miss some of the game, or I'll be trying to watch the game going through security, and I don't want that sort of stuff. So as soon as the fixtures came out, I was like, what? Come on, I very rarely ever travel for work. I'm in a very privileged position now that I get to do so. I'm actually travelling next Monday, so the podcast will be out early next Monday before I go. But it's one of these things, of all the games, especially that game, if it was at home in Motherwell or the home game to Hibs or something, I'd be like, I'll catch it up later on, but I can't not watch that one live, so a bit of a downer on that. The things that happen. Then we've got the Old Firm game on Leo's 17th birthday, and that's the 10th of May, and then we've got a Wednesday game at home to Hibs, and then we finish off away to Falkirk. And I would love it if we're wrapping the league up with a win at Hibs, a win at home to Hibs on the 13th of May. You never know, but we'll see what that looks like. In terms of shout-outs, we did get some quite good news yesterday that Rangers chairman Andrew Kavanagh was at the Philly Loyal Rangers Supporters Club yesterday, and he went down and watched the game with the folks, and by all accounts was a wonderful gentleman, and talked very highly of his time at Rangers, and they actually talked a wee bit about NARSA and the fact that we're having the event down in Nashville and such like that. So this is a good thing. I mean, I was actually saying to some of the boys yesterday, we've had members of the Rangers leadership travelling over the years, and I don't know of any or many. David Graham, as a communications director, he's always looking for clubs, and he'll reach out to me, periodically to say, I'm going to be in New York, are they showing the game? I'm going to be in Dubai, these sorts of things, and he wants to go and watch the game with the Bears. But other than that, a lot of the admin in terms of the leadership didn't really seem to have a whole bunch of interest of going and watching games in the supporters clubs, and he's done it twice now in the last wee while. You remember he was at the Big Apple Bears a couple of weeks back there as well. So I look forward to him coming to Calgary. I hope he gives me a wee bit of notice so that I can get the place all spruced up for him coming in. But absolutely brilliant to see him there. Got a couple of birthday shout-outs. In fact, I've actually got 3 birthday shout-outs. The very first one is a belated birthday. Happy birthday to NARSA Convention Director Brian Campbell, who was celebrating his birthday yesterday. So that means, what was that, 2 years ago, that we were down there surprising him for his 50th. So that was a lot of fun. A great weekend, actually. Some weather for his party, right enough. It was absolutely pissing down the whole time. But happy birthday. Brian got an opportunity to congratulate him and wish him a happy birthday yesterday. What do you say? Is it happy heavenly birthday to Andy Gorham, who would have been 62 today? He was obviously he was the goalie. I mean, we call him the goalie for a reason, and he was one of the mainstays during my time of watching Rangers all the time. Certainly one of the mainstays of that era, of course. And 260 appearances and 10 trophies for Rangers there. I often thought that we let him go too early when Advocat came in and kind of just went, nah, you're not for us, and then kind of moved on from there. And he dotted around, he played for Manchester United and things like that. But I still thought he had more to give, and obviously there was some stuff going on, or there's just style or preference or whatever that looks like. But that could have been, probably 300, 350 appearances for us if things had worked out a wee bit differently. Great guy. Convention guest once or twice. Certainly I remember him back in Redondo Beach, and he was just brilliant. Great fun, good laugh. And, just one of the boys and just absolutely brilliant guy. So, happy heavenly birthday, the goalie, and thank you for everything you did. And I have a birthday shout out for literally today, and it's none other than DJ Angry Bear, otherwise known as Colin Bowman, who is the president of the Orlando Rangers Supporters Club and also our resident DJ for the forthcoming Destination NARSA or convention or whatever we want, NARSA 2026, whatever we're calling it these days. But I got a notification on Facebook this morning that it was indeed his birthday. So very, very happy birthday to you, wee man. And I hope that you're getting spoiled today by your loved ones. Another quick shout out for the ORSA convention they're having in Sydney, hosted by the North Beaches Rangers Supporters Club. That's February 25th to 28th. And just another wee reminder, I did say this last week, that Tommy Brotherston from the Niagara True Blues has some memorabilia he's giving away. One in particular is a signed, framed shirt of Maurice Edu's from his time at the club. So if you have any affiliation to Maurice Edu, if you're a club in North America who's an affiliate, an official club, I should say, from NARSA, and you're looking for some memorabilia to put on your walls, please do get in touch and I'll do the introductions to Tommy. No one did get in touch last week, so interesting. You might not want it. I'll maybe mention this for another week or two and then we'll take it from there. I'll get that taken down. And speaking about getting it taken down, we are almost there with the London Marathon for Amanda and Jason Jr. Ross, Jason Ross Jr., who are running the London Marathon on behalf of the Royal British Legion. That's coming up here on the 26th. So I'll get an opportunity to see it. What would that be? One more time. And then that will be next week. And then the following week, we might get a wee report about how it went. Hopefully it all goes swimmingly well. And based on your training for the marathon, you should probably be going down in your distances now, I would imagine, to get to peak condition for race day. So good luck with the last couple of weeks of preparation there. In terms of the NARSA 2026 or the NARSA convention or Destination NARSA, I'm going to keep saying all of those things because I know that we're in a wee bit of a rebranding phase and I want to make sure that you know and understand that what we're talking about is the exact same thing. It's our annual event that we're having. And I just want to be super, super clear about this, just in case that this is for everyone. You don't need to be a NARSA member. You don't need to be based in North America. This is our regular convention cadence. I think some people were getting a wee bit put off when they went to book some tickets and it says, tell us what NARSA club you're affiliated with. That's only if you're affiliated with a NARSA club. And that's really relevant for when we were seating people, but we're doing a buffet style kind of casual dining on the Friday night this time. So there's not going to be place settings for anyone. You're going to get to sit with who you want to sit with. So if you have a falling out with someone that you've come along with, you can go sit somewhere else. Or if you make a new pal, you can go and sit with them instead of who you were planning to sit with in and of the first place. So it's completely up to you. But it's for everyone. So if you're thinking of coming along, and we are still trying to impress upon Rangers the importance of if we win this Premier, when we win this Premiership trophy, that they're going to make sure that comes over and we have that opportunity to get our photographs taken with it just mere weeks after the club has successfully secured our 56th title there. So it's for everyone. So if you're thinking about coming along, go book your tickets on the website, get the hotel booked as well, and then you can do the countdown. And I can tell you that the countdown is 58 days from today, 58 days and 8 weeks till we descend upon Nashville for the party of the year in terms of overseas events for Rangers. And that's, of course, June 11th to the 14th. And as I mentioned, the tickets are out for sale, the hotel's out for sale, and we are going to be joined by 9-in-a-row legends, Derek Ferguson, Scott Nisbet, David Robertson, and Mark Walters. We are going to be entertained by MC David Edgar. We will have entertainment from Stuart Hay, and I did mention earlier DJ Angry Bear, and we have Rebecca Auchterlonie, who is going to be doing some Rangers tunes for us basically interwoven throughout the entire event there. And of course, one of the highlights for me is David Mason, Rangers historian. David Mason going to be doing the story of Rangers for us. And we met with the hotel last week actually, just to kind of try and make sure that we fitted that into the appropriate time for that. Then in terms of the timing for that, we do have a draft. It's in an Excel spreadsheet. It doesn't look that great of the exact events and what games are taking place at the World Cup for these events, so we can manage and manifest the time through that. I know I've been saying the last couple of weeks that we're going to get that published. We're just a wee bit behind time on that, but hopefully this week I'll get an opportunity to spend a bit more time on that and get it out. We're at the spot now where we should just throw it out in the format that it's in, and then do what we need to do. So we'll get that out. I promise we will get that out. And from Rangers thus far, we have confirmed that we've got Executive Director Fraser Thornton and CEO Jim Gillespie going to be joining us on the Thursday and the Friday. They're going to be flying out to Boston for the World Cup game, the Scotland's opener, on the Saturday morning. So we'll get a chance to hang out with them for a couple of days. And I say thus far because if Andrew Kavanagh is going to New York and he's going to Philly, surely he can make it down to Nashville to enjoy some time with us Bears there as well. If we hear anything on that, we'll absolutely let you know. And it's good marketing collateral for us if he lets us know in advance. If he decides to show up at the last minute, that's okay too, but we would much prefer that he gave us a wee bit of notice so we can prepare for that properly. But all things are really going here, folks. 8 weeks to go. This is for every single Rangers fan across the entire globe. You're more than welcome to join you. I would love to get a chance to join you. It's going to be a smaller one this year by design, and that means it's a bit an opportunity for us to get an opportunity to chat and sit down. And all too often these events just go like that, they absolutely zip by, and I'm thinking, I didn't even see that person, I didn't even get a chance to speak to that person. I said a quick hello on the way out the toilet, and I'm hoping this year it's a wee bit more chill, selfishly for me, to be able to just sit and enjoy it and spend some time with the Bears from across the world. We do have the David Cooper Memorial Top Golf Tournament out for sale as well. That's the information's on our website too. And from a business perspective in NARSA, we are not doing the AGM at the convention this year, at the event this year. We are doing the AGM the week before online, so that we have a free Saturday there, and we're not just kind of cramming too much things into that. And we do have a NARSA executive meeting this week where we will fully finalise the itinerary, and then that might be the catalyst to actually get it out, now that I say that out loud here. In terms of communication for this last week, the Gers Guide, I waited for the Gers Guide to come out, and it was pretty sparse by the time it came out. I did learn one thing which I'll share with you. We've got the away days experience from the Falkirk victory yesterday, and an interview with Bojan Majowski, who did well with both of his goals. And then on Tuesday, we've got the loan review as always, but we also have a feature on Rangers TV of Ibrox icons, and this one is Jim Baxter. So that is definitely one for the ages that I'm going to make a point of watching that and enjoying everything that was Jim Baxter in there. And then for the rest of the week, there's a couple of youth games and such going on, but not a whole hell of a lot worthy of sharing and taking your time out. If you can go check it out on the Rangers website if you like. And there's no women's team either. I mentioned last week they're on the international break, and I think they're back on the 24th with a game. Actually, it's a top of the table clash, as it turns out now, against Hearts on the 24th, and I think the 24th is a Friday, isn't it? I think a Friday night. So a Friday night game under the lights against the league leaders, an opportunity to go top of the league with what would that be, 4 games to go after that. Ooh, that's got a familiar ring to it, hasn't it? So I know our Hearts game is one game removed from then, but is it 2? One I think it is. So we'll see what that looks like. But they are 1 point behind Hearts at the top of the table, and 1 goal behind on goal difference as well. So almost couldn't get any tighter there at the top of the table. So an absolutely brilliant run-in for the women's team here, and hopefully they can bring it home at the same time as the men's can. And just one other thing I thought was worthy of sharing. There was an article on the Rangers website last week that there was actually some really good stuff online in terms of footage of it as well. If you could check that out on the Rangers socials and such. I saw it on LinkedIn originally, actually, and it was It was. I'll actually read out what it says here. It says Rangers mark accessible week of action with successful Disabled Supporters Association launch event. And it goes on to say Rangers Football Club was proud to mark a significant milestone in its ongoing commitment to accessibility and inclusive supportive engagement, as more than 170 disabled supporters attended a meeting at Edmiston House on Thursday, the 26th of March, to begin the formation of a new Rangers Disabled Supporters Association, Rangers Disabled Supporters Association, and that will be the RDSA. And held as part of the Accessible Week of Action, the event brought together supporters, club representatives, and key stakeholders to establish the foundations of a new independent association representing disabled Rangers supporters across a wide range of access needs. The article goes on to say a bunch more about that, but this is absolutely brilliant. I remember when I was on the official fans board 10 years ago, 11 years ago, something like that, whenever it was. And we had disabled fans was one of the areas there, and one of the fellas is still involved in it as well. I've seen him there on the TV and such, and obviously playing a key role in that too. So to get their own independent association and really truly be the voice for fans in need of accessibility at the grounds and enjoying being Rangers fans is absolutely brilliant. So I'm looking really forward to seeing what they bring out. Just another quick reminder that Greg Mitchell from the Big Apple Bears in New York does have his rangerspubs.com website. If you're travelling and you're looking for a Rangers club close to, or a Rangers friendly establishment close to where you're travelling, you can check that out. And if it doesn't have any, and you know specifically of something there, you can contact the webmaster and he would get it updated. But I think he's done a brilliant job of that. So I'll keep mentioning that for the next couple of weeks as well. And just another reminder, if you are on social media and you haven't yet followed us on TikTok and on Instagram, it's NARSA Comms. That's NARSA COMMS on both platforms. And of course, give us a like and subscribe here on our YouTube channel as well. And that's really helpful for us. Okay, my friends, that will do it for this week. 5 more to go. We got another wee break in the weekend here, and then it's really pedal to the metal after that, and hopefully this is going to be history. And I've got a feeling, I'm very confident we're going to do it, and we are just peaking at the right time. And I think this is going to bode well for us as the season unfolds here. So thank you as always for taking the time to tune in. Please do share it with someone that you think might enjoy it. And between now and next week, rest up. You're going to need all the energy you can get for the 5 games after this next wee enforced break, and then we'll see how it all unfolds. Until next week, please do take care of yourself and all the very best. Okay, follow.